Hey everybody, this is Tony, and today I'm going to be going through all the cards in Ravnica Allegiance. We're going to start with the white, and we're going to go on and see kind of just like a preview of what they all look like and what they're going to be doing. We're going to take a look at it through the limited lens and through the constructed lens as best I can. I'm mostly going to go through the limited, and if I notice something that is constructed playable, then I'll probably mention that too. Okay, so to begin with, we're going to start with white, like I said. Angel of Grace here. Here we have a 3 and 2 white for a 5/4 flash flying angel. When it enters the battlefield until end of turn, damage that will reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. And for 6 mana, including 2 white, you can exile it from your graveyard for your life total to become 10. This is just busted overall in limited. You got a 5/4 flying for 5 mana is already a good rate. Flash makes it even better, and the fact that it has that Angel's Grace effect, so your life total doesn't go below 1, is great. I mean, it's just all upside here. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't pick this first in every single draft you do. Next we have Angelic Exaltation. It's 3 and a white for an enchantment that says whenever a creature you control attacks alone, it gets +X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. Yeah, I think this is fine. I kind of like this. It's kind of like just Exalted. Like it gives pretty much all your creatures Exalted, and that's not bad. I could really see that with a flying creature, so it can get over, or any kind of creature with evasion. It's going to be a strong card. I like that one too. Archway Angel. It's 5 and a white for a flying 3/4 angel. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life for each gate you control. 6 mana for a flying 3/4 is fine. It's certainly not a top pick at all. Enters the battlefield, you gain 2 life for each gate you control. Maybe if there's a gate deck, it would be better, but honestly, this card is just fine. Middle of the road card, I would say. Arrester's Zeal is just a single white mana for an instant that says target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It has addendum, so if you cast a spell during your main phase, that creature gains flying until end of turn. Any battle tricks that only cost 1 mana are always a good one. The fact that you can give a creature flying on the attack is okay. It's certainly a plus, probably for like a kill shot. It's probably going to be strong there. Overall, again, very good battle trick for the +2/+2 for only a single mana. Next we have Bring to Trial. It's 2 and a white for a sorcery. Exile target creature with power 4 or greater. This, unlike the last set we had, which focused on the toughness, this focuses more on the power, which I like. It gets rid of the creatures that are going to be giving you a hard time. So again, it's a good card, I would say. Certainly not in the top couple picks, because there's not too many creatures with power 4 or greater, but you certainly want one in your draft decks. Next we have Civic Stalwart. It's 3 and a white for a 3/3 elephant soldier. When Civic Stalwart enters the battlefield, creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. This is the kind of card I like. Its stats are relatively fine for what you get, so it's like a 4 mana 3/3 is always going to be a decent card. The fact that it has like an inspired charge effect when it comes into play just makes everything better. If it gave vigilance, that'd be even better, but then we're talking probably 5 mana. So middle of the road card again. I'd always like to have at least one in my white decks. Concordia Pegasus is 1 and a white for a flying 1/3 Pegasus. This card just looks bad to me. Unless you have that exalted enchantment. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of flying 1/3 creatures, especially for 2 mana. I mean, it could hit the opponent 6 times and still only do 6 damage. So it's not really a card that I am a big fan of. Next, we have Exposed to Daylight. It's 2 and a white for an instant. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, and then you can scry 1. This is more of a sideboard card as far as I can tell, and not a very good one either. I mean, if your opponent has a enchantment or artifact that's really causing you issues, then yeah, of course you bring it in. But otherwise, I'm not a fan of this. I think it costs too much, and the scry 1 just isn't a good enough bonus on top of it. Next, we have Forbidding Spirit. It is 1 and 2 white mana for a 3/3 Spirit Cleric. Just right there, I see a 3/3 for 3 mana is great. So I'm expecting the text box to probably have a negative effect, but it says instead, when it enters the battlefield, until your next turn, creatures can't attack you or a planeswalker you control unless their controller pays 2 for each of those creatures. This card is so good. Considering it's an uncommon, it's a 3 mana 3/3 in white with upside. So I would be taking this in the first couple picks almost every time if I see it. Next, we have the Hazda Officer. It's 2 and a white for a 3/2 human soldier. When Hazda Officer enters the battlefield, target creature you control gets +1/+1 until end of turn. This card's fine. 3/2 for 3 is okay. I'm not a big fan of the 2 toughness. You're going to see a lot of creatures that are going to be able to kill it each time. And the +1/+1 for 1 creature, meh. It's fine. I would not be looking for this card, but if it's towards the end of the pack, then I guess I would pick it up. Hero of Precinct 1 is next. It's 1 and a white for a 2/2 human warrior. And it says, whenever you cast a multicolored spell, create a 1/1 white human creature token. Okay, in limited, this card's going to be good. Just there's so many multicolored spells in this set that you're always going to want to play this. This is a first pick every time. And in Constructed, this card is so good. It's busted for real. In a humans deck, it's going to be ridiculous. You're going to be casting so many meddling mages and just all the multicolored humans. I expect to see this in standard, modern. I don't know about like the older formats and that, but I expect to see it around. Next, we have Impassioned Order. It's 1 and a white for a 2/2 human cleric. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So we have a 2/2 for 2, already, just a perfectly average card. And then it has upside. So I would be looking to take this relatively early if I could. Like, not in the first couple picks, but maybe like pick 4 through 7. I would be really happy to get this. While I'm not usually a huge fan of gaining life in a limited game, when it's just bonus on top, it's always a great thing, and you should always be prioritizing that. Justiciars, I have no idea how to pronounce that word, Portal. It's a 1 and a white for an instant that says, exile target creature you control and return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. It gains first strike until end of turn. This looks like it has basically 2 effects. It's going to make a blocker with first strike out of any creature you have, even if it attacked already. So it basically gives a creature vigilance and first strike that your opponent might not be expecting. And also any enter the battlefield effects that your creature might have will have that again. So that's going to be really strong right there. The one thing it will not do is if your creature has afterlife, it doesn't actually die, it's exiled, so you won't be getting the creature token out of that, just so you're aware. Next, we have Knight of Sorrows. It's 4 and a white for a 3/3 human knight. Knight of Sorrows can block an additional creature each combat with Afterlife 1. So we're looking at a 5 mana 3/3, not very good. Can block an additional creature each combat. Take in mind the 3 damage it deals. You have to split it between those 2 creatures. It doesn't deal 3 damage to both of them. With an Afterlife 1, I don't know how strong Afterlife is. It seems pretty good. So I'm going to give it a little bonus on that. But a 5 mana 3/3 still isn't really my cup of tea. So, I mean, it's a little bit below average is the way I'm calling it right now. Next we have Lumbering Battlement. It's 4 and a white for a 4/5 beast with vigilance. Already a 5 mana 4/5 in white with vigilance is a perfectly strong card. And one that I would be always happy to have. Maybe not in the first few picks, but this one also has, when it enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-token creatures you control until it leaves the battlefield. Lumbering Battlement gets +2/+2 for each card exiled with it. So say you have a bunch of little 1/1 creatures, exile them all, and now he gets +2/+2 with vigilance. And I'm liking that. I like that a lot. Even if you just like exile one other one, it makes it a 6/7 vigilance for 5 mana, and that is just bonkers. Your opponents are going to have a hard time getting rid of that. Up next is Ministrant of Obligation. It's 2 and a white for a 2/1 human cleric with Afterlife 2. This card is really, really good. So the Afterlife 2 on a 3 mana creature, I'm telling you, like, when you get those 2/1/1 flying creatures, you're going to be so happy. I actually would want this one to die. So your opponents aren't going to be blocking it, like, almost ever, because they're not going to want you to have 2/1/1 flying creatures. So it's just 2 damage a turn until they can't take it anymore. Or this would even be a good sacrifice outlet, too. So, I mean, overall, I'm going to say this one is one of the top picks also in white. Next, we have Prowling Caracal for a 1 and a white 3/1 cat. I will try my hardest not to ever draft this card. 3/1 in a normal draft might be good, and you might think you could be really aggressive with it, but with all the 1/1 flying creatures around, it's just going to kill it. If you're playing a defensive deck, maybe it's a good blocker, because it's got the 3 power, but really, you're not going to want this card. Just try to avoid it. Rally to Battle is next. It's 3 and a white for an instant that says creatures you control get +1/+3 until end of turn and untap them. The untap them is the key here. I think this is a really strong card too. For more of a defensive deck, but also if you're an offensive deck and you've been swinging in, your opponents think they can crack back for the win, and you just block. I'm happy with that. Resolute Watchdog is next. It's just a single white mana for a 1/3 hound with Defender. A 1/3 Defender for 1 is meh, I guess. It can't block the Afterlife creatures. 1/3 is very boring. It has an ability, though, that says 1 in Sacrifice Resolute Watchdog. Target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn. I do not expect to see this card or play this card very much. It just does not seem great. I mean, it's fine as like a 24th card, 23rd card in your deck, but honestly, I'm not going to be looking to put this in. For an uncommon, I'm just not going to see it much. Sentinel's Mark is next. It's 1 and a white for an enchantment aura. with flash. Obviously, it enchants a creature since it's an aura. An enchanted creature gets +1/+2 and has vigilance. So for a flash effect, that's decent. I mean, your opponent thinks they're going to kill your creature, but lo and behold, oh, now it's +1/+2. If you cast it, though, during your main phase, the enchanted creature gains lifelink until end of turn. And I think this is where you're going to be casting this card more often. The 1/2 and Vigilance. The Vigilance right there is why you're going to want to cast it during your main phase. So that way your creature is just not tapped. It just makes more sense to me that way. And for 2 mana for +1/+2, it's fine. I'm not going to be looking to draft this one early, but if it's there late in the thing, I might take it. Next we have Sky Tether. It's a single white mana for an enchantment aura. Enchanted creature has Defender and loses flying. Just one big thing about this is the other creature can still block. It might not be able to attack anymore. But sometimes when you use this, you kind of forget that they can still block and you attack in mistakenly. So it's fine. It'll take care of your opponent's big attacker. But just be careful. It can still block. Next we have Smothering Tithe. It's 3 and a white for an enchantment that says whenever an opponent draws a card, that player may pay 2. If the player doesn't, you create a colorless treasure artifact token with tap, sacrifice this artifact, add 1 mana of any color. I love this card, but I am not going to love playing this card. I just know I'm going to miss a trigger here or there and forget to use this. But I do enjoy it. You're going to be getting a lot of tokens because nobody's going to want to pay 2 extra mana for you to get 1. So definitely draft this highly, and then feel free to draft some bigger creatures or even other multicolored stuff because the treasures do tap for 1 of any color. So look for that one. That one's going to be strong. In sealed, I think it's going to be really strong. I could even see that being played in like a standard environment for sure. Next we have Spirit of the Spires. It's 3 and a white for a 2/4 flying spirit. Other creatures you control with flying get +0/+1. I don't play spirits in Modern, but I mean, it is a spirit that gives other spirits +0/+1. So, or other creatures with flying, but most spirits fly. With Afterlife, this one's going to be a strong one. In Limited, you're really going to want this card. And then draft as many Afterlife stuff as you can. I'm assuming there's also another one that gives creatures with flying +1/+0, and that one's going to be a little more important, but definitely take this one if you're in the Afterlife deck. Summary Judgment is next. It's 1 and a white for an instant. Summary Judgment deals 3 damage to target tapped creature. You know, typical battle effect that a battle trick that'll kill an attacker usually. If you do cast it during your main phase, though, it deals 5 damage to that creature instead. This will kill Niv-Mizzet, which is a nice thing in Standard. And just overall, I think this is going to be a fine card. You're definitely going to want one in your draft decks. Try to grab it if you can. Next we have the Syndicate Messenger. It's 3 and a white for a 2/3 flying bird with Afterlife 1. This card seems fine. It's a good flying creature. 2/3 for 4 is a little below what I would like. But as a common, that makes sense. In Afterlife 1, so even if it dies, you still have another flying 1/1 creature. This will be good actually as a blocker if you're playing the Afterlife deck, like against it. Because it's going to be able to just stop all of them. Next, we have 10th District Veteran. It's 2 and a white for a 2/3 human soldier with vigilance. So let's just look at that right there. 3 mana, 2/3 vigilance is fine. I will take that every day of the week. And then it has upside. When it attacks, untap another creature you control, basically giving that one vigilance also. I will definitely be playing this one. This card seems great in every way. As a common, you're going to see a lot of these. So be prepared for it. Next we have Tithe Taker. It's 1 and a white for a 2/1 human soldier. During your turn, spells your opponents cast cost 1 more to cast, and abilities your opponents activate cost 1 more to activate unless they're mana abilities. It also has Afterlife 1. This seems more like a constructed card than a limited card, but I mean, a 2/1 with upside for 2 is good, and with the Afterlife 1 it's really good. Limited, I would take it. I wouldn't be thrilled. But constructed, this is definitely going to be an all-star. In humans, in modern, this card is going in almost immediately, I bet. So definitely draft it for money, and draft it because it's going to be a fine card. Next we have Twilight Panther. It is a single white mana for a 1/2 cat spirit. It has an activated ability for a black mana. Twilight Panther gains Death Touch until end of turn. So if you're playing the Orzhov deck, this seems like a good card. If you're not, stay as far away from this card as you can. Because a 1/2 for 1 is a terrible, terrible card, and you're not going to want to play it. But if you're an Orzhov, that's fine. You can. The 1/2 Death Touch for 1 is good. Unbreakable Formation. It's 2 and a white for an instant that says creatures you control gain indestructible until end of turn. If it was just that, I would say do not play this card. It just seems bad right there. But as an addendum, it says if you cast the spell during your main phase, put a +1/+1 counter on each of those creatures and they gain vigilance until end of turn. Now, 3 mana to put a 1/1 counter on all of my creatures and give them vigilance and indestructible until end of turn. That's a spell that I want to cast. Almost never cast this unless it's your main phase, unless you really need to make your creatures indestructible. But it is 10 times better with the addendum. I can see that. I don't know if this is constructed playable. It might be in the mono white deck or the heroic reinforcements deck. I could see that going in those. But that's about all. I don't see this being a standard staple. Next we have, and actually I think this is the last card too. Yep. Last card in white today. It is Watchful Giant. It's 5 and a white for a 3/6 giant soldier. When Watchful Giant enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human creature token. So let's look at it like this. It is a 6 mana 3/6. That is not a creature I would want to play. It comes in with a 1/1 white human creature token, which is okay. I'm not going to be looking forward to playing this card. It's just overall a pretty bad one. 6 mana, 3/6, bad. Comes in with a 1/1, so it's a 4/7 for 6. Still not happy with it. So I would stay away from this card. Maybe as a sideboard card if your opponents are playing, you know, like Gruul maybe, with a bunch of 4/4s and 5/5s and you just need a blocker, then it's fine, but I'm not going to be playing this one. Okay, thanks for watching my video. That is all the white cards in Ravnica Allegiance. Check out tomorrow's episode where I'll be going through all of the blue cards. Thanks for watching.